CIO, which is the mother of all the unions, the musicians union, which I'm a member of, all of us support your efforts and your right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Benavides, our brother.
All right, so we all know what happened on November 5th. Occupy Dallas was marching to the Bank of America, bank transfer day. On that day, there was a media blackout, and there was no media out there, which we find a little suspicious. Whenever we get to the Bank of America, we unite with the other forces that were already there. Me and another guy and some other people took to these planners, and we were preparing to have our speakers come up and make their speeches. Before we had the ability to do that, this officer, Jay Hollis, who was working as private security for the Bank of America, shoved me from the planner. The excuse that the police are using was that he had given me multiple warnings and that the private property and the trespassing ordinance or whatever gave him the ability to use violence to remove somebody from a planner. Well, we know that that's complete bullshit. In my opinion, I think the whole situation was an orchestrated political act by the Dallas Police Department and the other government agencies involved to try to suppress our political speech, to try to restrict our constitutional right to freedom of assembly and freedom of expression. After Officer Hollis pushed me from the ledge, you then quickly saw other Dallas police officers move in and apply violence to nonviolent, peaceful protesters. These are artists and musicians. These are not guys that are out there struggling with the police. And so we see individuals being maced, pepper sprayed, and all this and that. This is police brutality. This is police terrorism. The Dallas Police Department needs to be held accountable for their actions. And so the Dallas Police has a long history of this. All of the police departments in the United States and internationally have a long history of using violence to oppress political movements. On October 29, 2010, an individual by the name of Tobias Mackey, a black gentleman, was shot 9 times by a white officer by the name of Matthew Tate. There's a lot of information, a lot of evidence about this case. Multiple organizations, Malcolm X grassroots movement, the People's Lunch Counter, Students for a Democratic Society Dallas chapter, came together and formed a new organization called Communities Organizing Against Police Terrorism. And our goal was to try to find some type of solution to give to the people to be able to hold the police department and the city at large, the state, the government accountable whenever there's violations of civil rights or harassment or assault, and in this case, blatant murder. And what we came up with was a variation. Actually, I wouldn't even say a variation. It's something that's completely new. How many of you here know that we have a Dallas Citizens Police Review Board? Raise your hands. Now, how many of you know how it works or what power it actually has to hold police officers accountable for their actions? Probably nobody. The reason because the Dallas Citizens Police Review Board has no power to hold police officers accountable when they violate civil rights, when they assault people, or when they murder people and death is involved. So over the last 6 to 8 months, these various organizations have come together and we have written a new city ordinance that replaces the Dallas Citizens Police Review Board with the Office of the Police Monitor. The Office of the Police Monitor gives the ability of the board, once it's voted on and approved, to access confidential information during these internal affairs investigations. Right now, the citizens and the public at large has no access to that information. We are expected to wait for internal affairs to do their investigation. Once they come and make their determination, that's that. The people have no voice in holding the people who are given the responsibility to protect and serve any voice in their accountability.